Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking through how to solve Banks' turn and conical pendulum problems for physics and AP physics classes, and we're dealing primarily with centripetal acceleration and friction. And so these are tougher problems for a regular physics class or an honors physics class, or these are things that you really should know for an AP physics class in terms of how to deal with these types of problems. So let's go ahead and get to it. So it says, first of all, on a banked road meaning it's at an angle like this. It says, what is the speed at which the car must travel to maintain circular motion? Ignore friction for now. Mass and the angle of the bank curve are given. Alright, so this is a diagram that I've made for this. And right at the outset, I want to say the most important thing about solving these problems is to ignore the temptation to make our x-axis slanted right here to match the angle of the ramp. Because you've done that probably so many times at this point, it's really tempting to just say, well, let's just make this our x-axis and we'll make this our y-axis. What's different about these type of problems is that the acceleration is towards the center, and it's way, way easier if you just make the axis as you would in a normal problem, like this would be your y, this would be your x. If you set it up this way, like I've shown in this free body diagram here, then the acceleration is pointing directly into the center, and the problem actually becomes way easier to solve. So one way to justify that is on a normal ramp problem, you have motion or possible motion in the x-axis when you have a slanted x-axis. In this case, we have motion in this plane right here, in the x-axis plane right here. That would be completely horizontal. And so we're going to make our x-axis be completely horizontal. And that'll make the problem way, way easier. Now, I do want to point out that there is another type of problem that is going to work out exactly the same way, and this is what's called a conical pendulum problem. So if you're not sure what a conical pendulum is, take a look at the GIF or the GIF animation here, and you can see that a pendulum in this three-dimensional space is going to trace out essentially a cone, and that's where we're going to get a conical pendulum idea. It's not just moving in 2 dimensions, it's revolving in 3 dimensions. By the way, I got this animation from a site called oPhysics, and it's a great site. I'll put a link to that in the description below. It's really worth messing around with the great animations and simulations that the author has created. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to solve this problem right here. In the process, you're going to learn exactly how to address what at first glance seems like very different problems, but actually are basically the same thing with some different labels. So let's go ahead and get to it. First of all, I've got my free body diagram here. I'm going to take this normal force, this is my vector right here, the normal force, and I'm going to break it into components. That's just something I do before I begin the problem. Then I'm going to start working with my sum of my forces strategy in the x-axis, and let me explain what that means. That just means the sum of the forces is equal to literally the sum of the forces. You add them up in that axis, in the x-axis. In this x-axis, there's actually only one, the normal force in the x, and so you move on to the second line for the sum of the forces strategy, and you say the sum of the forces is equal to mass times acceleration. And in this case, because it's moving in a circular path, we need to quickly change this acceleration here into centripetal acceleration, so I'm going to call that A sub c. Then we're going to set these lines equal to each other and see what happens. So we go ahead and do that. We also need to sub in, really important here, we need to substitute in what our centripetal acceleration is. Now there are 2 different equations for this. I'll put a link up for a previous problem I've done where I've shown how to solve centripetal acceleration with the 2 different equations. It just depends on what the problem gives you, really. So at this stage of the year, you may have only seen tangential speed squared over r, but you can also have something called omega squared times r, and that is angular speed. So those are radian-based units. If you don't know what I'm talking about with radian-based units, that's okay. You will probably get to it later in the school year. Alright, so next up we're going to move on to the y-axis and do the sum of the forces in the y. And the first line in the strategy is always to add up the forces in the y-axis. I'm going to make force due to gravity negative here, so it's like adding a negative value. The second line is equal to mass times acceleration in that axis. Then we can ask ourselves, is this something or is this nothing, this acceleration here? What do you think? Is there any acceleration in the y or not really? The answer is nope, no acceleration in the y, that is 0. That's because this thing is not even moving in the y-axis, let alone accelerating in the y-axis. So then we can say, well, that's 0, and we can set these 2 lines equal to each other, and then we can isolate for our unknown, solve for the normal force in the y-axis. We're saying that is equal to mg in terms of the magnitude of the normal force in the y-axis. I'm going to come back to that later, so hold on to that thought. Alright, we're going to say, well, our normal forces in the y is equal to mg. Let's go ahead and think about what we know about this in terms of this up here. So if you say, well, the normal force times the cosine of theta will give me my normal force in the y, that is true. We've already solved for this. This is mg, but it's also the normal force times cosine of theta is also a true statement about the normal force in the y based on this triangle and some simple trig over here. So we can set those equal to each other and solve for the normal force. Now we've got the normal force. So we can then say, well, what's the only component we don't have working with our triangle here? And that's going to be the normal force in the x. To get that, there are a couple different ways. You can use sine here, or you could use another trig function, or you could even use the Pythagorean theorem at this point. It's up to you, but I'm going to use sine over here. So the normal force times the sine of theta is equal to the normal force in the x. So I can say, well, the normal force in the x, we already know something about that because we worked on it previously. In other words, I had already solved for the normal force in the x on the last page. This is where writing this out on one sheet of paper would be easier to spot, but I did solve for this earlier. So then we can set these things equal to each other, and we can solve for our vt, or at least start to solve for our tangential speed. That's what we're being asked for. What is the speed at which the car must travel to maintain the circular motion? So we continue with that, and we're going to say we know what our normal force is. We solved for that previously. We can go ahead and sub that in right here, and we get something a bit more complex, right? But what's one way we could simplify this immediately? Well, we could get rid of the masses, right? So, and then we can write the equation like this. We still do need the vt. We don't need vt squared, we need vt. One other thing you could do to simplify, this is not needed, but it is possible. The sine of theta over the cosine of theta is equal to the tangent of theta. These are not dot products. These are just showing multiplication here. R times g times tan of theta. So if we continue, we can see that our tangential speed is equal to r times g times the tan of theta, all under a root. And that's how you would solve this problem, but it also turns out that that's effectively how you would solve this problem over here. Now that you glance at this free body diagram, I hope you can see that you're going to solve this in an extremely similar way to how you would solve this problem over here. It's effectively the same type of problem. It's just that instead you would have tension over here instead of the normal force. That is the force that's causing this thing to move in a circular path. So one last thing, I've gone over all of the major concepts in a regular physics class as well as many of the concepts in an AP Physics C mechanics class. And so if you want to know more, you can always like and subscribe and you can see more about what's going on here. And if you have any comments down below, please let me know, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care.